This is the OPPO Find N2 Flip, which is OPPO's first vertical foldable smartphone. Even though there are more and more foldable phones out there, most of them are horizontal foldable phones, and vertical foldable phones are still quite rare to see. We know that Samsung has one, Huawei has one, and now OPPO has its own vertical foldable phone as well. So, in this new category of smartphones, how does OPPO's first vertical foldable phone perform? Let's take a look. Beginning with the unboxing experience. Right off the bat, we see that the packaging for the phone is quite interesting. When you open the box, the hinge actually lifts up the inner packaging, bringing the phone towards you when opening it. It kind of reminds me of the lift up the chassis mechanism that you would find on some gaming laptops. Inside the box, we get the phone itself with the beautiful astral black finish on the back. We also see phrases like inspiration ahead and open more possibilities inside the box. Other than the phone, we also have a 67-watt Type A wall charger, a Type A to Type C charging cable, a hard transparent phone case that has been cut in half, as well as a manual and a SIM ejector. You will also find a mysterious Type C to Type A converter that I have no idea what to do with. Before taking a closer look at the Find N2 Flip, I would like to talk about the vertical foldable form factor. When people started asking for a horizontal foldable phone, the reason behind it is quite straightforward, which is to flip open the phone to have a bigger phone when you need to, and fold it back up when you're done. However, it doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at a vertical foldable phone. You flip it open to use it as a normal phone, and you fold it to carry it around. But your normal phone is already portable enough, and you need to take an extra step to flip open the phone to use it. In terms of practicality, I think it just adds an unnecessary step. However, not everything is designed for practicality. Sometimes we buy stuff just because it's fun to use. When you flip open or close the phone, the folding action is what makes the phone special. I think OPPO's vertical foldable phone is aiming at the same concept, which is to make the phone more fun to use. Since it's a foldable phone, let's start with the display. The Find N2 Flip has a small 3.2-inch exterior screen with a resolution of 720 by 382, as well as a big 6.8-inch inner display with a resolution of 2520 by 1080 and a refresh rate of 60 or 120 Hz. However, when comparing to other flagship phones, the Find N2 Flip has a maximum of only 500 nits of brightness, which is not super bright, meaning you'll probably have a hard time seeing the screen under the sun, and this is probably due to the folding mechanism. Even though it does support a much higher peak brightness, that's not very useful when just using the phone normally. As for the aspect ratio, the screen has a 21:9 ratio, meaning the phone is very long, even longer than my iPhone 13 Pro Max. The good news is that you will get a more immersive feeling when watching movies, since there will be less black bars around. However, the downside is that it is almost impossible to use the phone one-handed. You really must use two hands to operate this phone. Wait, does that mean you should use both hands when using the bigger screen and only one hand when using the exterior screen? In addition, you will find a rubberized lining around the inner screen. I think they are used as bumpers to protect the inner screen when folding. I mean, you don't want the inner screens kissing each other, right? While the bumpers do make the phone less sleek, I think it's kind of necessary. As for the refresh rate, while most phones can automatically switch between 60 Hz and 120 Hz, the Find N2 Flip requires you to manually select which refresh rate to go with, which is kind of strange. Maybe it again has to do with the folding mechanism? Since we are talking about the folding mechanism, let's take a look at what people care about the most, and that is the physical crease. When you're using your phone normally, you won't really notice the crease most of the time. Compared to other non-foldable phones, the Find N2 Flip is doing quite well. However, when you turn your phone toward a hard light source, then the crease would show up. When you place your finger on the crease, it kind of feels like going through a speed bump. Nevertheless, I think overall the crease is designed fairly well. OPPO says that they also have something called Flexion hinge technology inside. It basically means that the hinge holds well throughout different angles. Here's a quick demonstration of the different angles it can hold. It seems like smaller angles are a breeze, but larger angles are kind of hard for the hinge to handle. Nevertheless, this ability to have the phone hover open at various angles also brings out a lot of fun ways to use it. One of them is the camcorder mode. Basically, you just open your phone at a 90-degree angle, and you can start filming like using a camcorder. Initially, I wasn't sure if this is a necessary feature. After trying it, I think it does create a better weight distribution that makes filming a lot more comfortable. And this circles back to the concept that we just talked about, which is to make using the phone fun. Also, you can use the phone as a mini tripod or makeup mirror by folding it. Does it make a better makeup mirror or mini tripod? Absolutely not, but still, it makes the whole process fun. While the crease, hinge, and hovering function are quite good, the biggest feature for this phone is actually its exterior display. When comparing to other vertical foldable phones, the Find N2 Flip has the biggest exterior display, coming in at 3.2 inches. The bigger exterior screen does allow you to use the phone with just one hand, kind of like going back to the iPhone 4 days. Swiping down will take you in the control center. Swiping up will show your notifications. Swiping left will bring out different widgets for quick actions, where you can quickly access your camera, check the weather, or start a timer. Swiping right, well, does nothing. I think using the exterior display to open the camera is quite useful, because you can see a preview of yourself while using the main camera on your phone. That brings out another question. Is it better to use the main camera or the selfie camera to take selfies? I will get to photo quality later. While it is great to use the exterior display to preview your selfies, there are some designs that don't really make sense. First of all, when you turn on the camera using the exterior screen, you cannot switch to the ultra-wide camera for group selfies. If you want to use the ultra-wide camera and the exterior screen at the same time, you have to flip open the phone, select the ultra-wide camera, and hit this little button to send the preview to the exterior display. In other words, you have to flip open the phone to see an ultra-wide preview on the exterior screen. When you switch to the ultra-wide camera and fold the phone up, it just locks itself up instead of showing the camera app on the exterior screen. Like, why? I don't get the logic behind it. I think it could be one of the coolest features on this phone to use the ultra-wide camera in a folded position to make vlogs, similar to how action cameras nowadays also have a small front screen for previewing yourself. I really hope OPPO can fix this in new firmware updates. In addition, the exterior display allows you to use cute animals as your wallpaper, which makes you feel like you have a little pet living inside your phone. Every time you take out your phone, you'll see your little pet on the exterior screen. Again, it makes the phone fun to use. The exterior display also supports always-on display, but the things you can show on the exterior display are very limited. I think this could also be a super useful feature if you can show your to-do list on the exterior screen. Overall, I think the big exterior design can do so many more things and has so much potential, and OPPO did very little here. Moving to the camera system, let's take a look at the camera specs. At the back, we have a 50-megapixel main camera, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide camera, as well as a 32-megapixel selfie camera. As for the image quality, the Find N2 Flip isn't designed to have the best camera system, since we already have the powerful Find X5 Pro, but I would say it's still pretty decent. When comparing it to my iPhone 13 Pro Max, I would say they are almost equally sharp. Sometimes my iPhone looks sharper, and sometimes the Find N2 Flip looks sharper. Here are some sample photos, and you can decide which one is better. As for colors, both cameras have their own sense of what color palette looks best, and I kind of like the colors on the OPPO just a tiny bit more than on the iPhone. As for nighttime photography, both the iPhone and Find N2 Flip do very well. However, I think the Find N2 Flip does it a bit better, because when taking photos in extremely dark environments, my iPhone takes 10 seconds to expose, while the Find N2 Flip only takes 1.5 seconds, and they produce almost identical sharpness. The Find N2 Flip also has a special camera mode called X-Pan, which basically allows you to take photos in a cinematic aspect ratio, and it also has this kind of special effect when pressing the shutter. Now let's talk about the image quality between the selfie camera and the main camera. In my test, both cameras perform equally well in environments with a soft light source. We see that both images are sharp, except that the main camera has less digital noise in the shadows, because of the larger sensor on the main camera. As for scenes with a lot of contrast and hard light sources, the selfie camera begins to struggle. The highlights are blown out on the selfie camera, and it is less sharp as well. So, as a rule of thumb, use the main camera for selfies. Moving to performance and battery, the Find N2 Flip has a MediaTek Dimensity 9000 Plus 5G processor with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of ROM, as well as its Mary Silicon X NPU inside, which allows the phone to easily compete with the iPhone in terms of image quality. As for the processor, it is good enough for most activities on this phone, and doing some intense gaming is indeed possible, but don't forget to turn down some of the settings. Also, powering the phone is a 4300 mAh battery. While it may not seem much, having a large battery is indeed quite challenging for a vertical foldable phone. Unfortunately, while the charger supports 67-watt fast charging, the Find N2 Flip only supports 44-watt fast charging, probably because of the folding mechanism as well. Finally, let's talk about the rest of the specs. The Find N2 Flip is around 7.45mm thick and weighs around 192 grams. The material on the back, combined with the astral black finish, makes the phone smudge-free, which is pretty nice. The phone also supports fingerprint unlock and the face unlock, and you can even use the main camera to unlock the phone when using facial unlock. So, that's all we have for you today. What do you think of the OPPO Find N2 Flip? Let us know in the comments down below. For tech and gadgets, we've got you covered, and see you next time.